Following the invasion of Ukraine, as you can see behind me today, crowds have gathered to condemn the actions of Russia. And what I'll be speaking to them about is, has the West done enough in relation to the sanctions that have been imposed on Russian oligarchs, and also those money transfers that have been coming in to the UK from Russians? So let's see what they have to say and get their perspective across to you today. I'm just joined here by
Irka.
And Ambros.
How are you guys doing? You okay?
We're okay, not that good really with what's going on in Ukraine.
Pretty much the same. It's sad times, worrying times, but I'm sure all will come right for us.
Following the invasion of Ukraine, how have you been feeling? I mean, we've seen a lot of the news, we've seen some devastating events, but being here, how are you feeling about all this?
Absolutely devastated.
Did you ever expect it to come to this at all, or?
Not at all. No, not at all. There were signs when Putin annexed Crimea, took the eastern region, the Donbass region. We didn't think it'll go this far.
What's your thoughts of the invasion of Ukraine? How are you guys feeling in relation to what's happening right now?
I'm totally disgusted that a country like Russia can invade a sovereign country like Ukraine, which is our Ukraine. We're all born and bred in England, but our heritage, my parents, my grandparents were from Ukraine, and they wouldn't have wanted the Russian occupation of Ukraine, and neither do we. So we're standing up for that right.
Yeah, just the same, yeah. Upset, angry.
Anger, the main one.
And I mean, at the moment, the West has imposed some devastating sanctions to Russia. But do you think these sanctions alone are enough to stop what's going on? Or do you think these sanctions need to be improved? Do we need to send more troops to Russia, Ukraine?
As much as we'd like the whole of Europe to support us and NATO to send troops, that frankly is not the right answer, because that would create war. That would create a war, because then by England, UK, for example, sending troops into Ukraine would effectively declare war on Russia, and we cannot do that. So as much as we want to help our soldiers that are there, we can only provide that by providing arms and
Humanitarian aid.
Yeah, we cannot provide troops on the ground, because otherwise we're opening ourselves up to war. Effectively, that declares war. So we cannot do that. Yeah. So are the sanctions deep enough? You said they could be deeper. They could be deeper. Now, what was good news is today we've heard that all the countries have decided to impose a SWIFT transaction, stop money going into Russia and out of Russia, which we feel is a very good sign. And so we need everybody to unite to do that.
And what are your thoughts on the sanctions that have been imposed by the West? America have told that they're going to stop the oil tram line, I think that they were setting up through Germany. And also the UK has imposed some stoppages to the banks and money that's been coming in from Russians. Do you think these sanctions are enough, or do you think there needs to be more done by the West to stop Russia with what their invasions going on and stuff like that?
Well, sanctions by itself, it can't stop the war. War machine, it's working, they're doing the job, and any sanctions not gonna stop them. Only guns and people, only fight can stop the war.
The West have imposed some sanctions on Russia. Do you think these sanctions are enough to stop what's going on? Or do you think more sanctions need to be put on Russia to damage that economy, to stop what's going on currently? What do you think about those sanctions?
Too little, too late. They should have imposed these sanctions months ago, because the troops have been on the borders for months now. And you don't do exercising round three-quarters of a country's borders for months in advance. It was obviously he had something in mind. Nobody knew what. We certainly didn't expect what he has done. We thought he would just go for the east of the country, but he's got bigger targets in mind. And as you've heard today, people do believe that he's not going to stop at Ukraine, he's going to go further. So unless somebody puts a bullet through his head, how are we going to stop him? Sanctions aren't going to stop him. And by the time they work through the system, millions of people will have lost their lives and been displaced, and it's horrific.
Do you think these sanctions are enough to stop what's going on? Are they helping the Ukrainian people? Do you think the West, Britain, America, France, all these different countries. Do you think we've done enough at the moment, or do you think we need to be doing more?
They need more help. Ukraine needs help. Sitting back and not doing anything. Ukraine, we need help.
Yeah, they're doing the best they can worldwide, but we need more. Particularly on the SWIFT issue, where they've got to collectively get all together. If there's some air protection, similar to what they did with Israel, had a no-zone area for the air, and let the Ukrainian people fight on the ground.
Do you think NATO has failed not to intervene into Ukraine, or do you think NATO is doing the right thing by not causing a further war into the rest of Europe, perhaps? Or what's your thoughts on that kind of stuff?
NATO didn't fail, but they are too slow. They're too slow. They should move much, much faster. And they should support Ukraine not only with weapons, but with soldiers as well.
And do you think that's something that you could see happening, or you'd like to see happening in the future? Or what's your thoughts? Do you think NATO needs to supply Ukraine with soldiers sooner rather than later?
Well, as soon as possible. I hope it will happen. I hope they're gonna send troops tomorrow.
Do you think perhaps following the current invasion of Ukraine, it could lead to, once Ukraine perhaps comes to an end, an invasion of other countries surrounding Russia? And I think that's the worry at the moment. Do you think that's very possible in the near future?
Absolutely, because before the Berlin Wall came down, the Iron Curtain, it was extended up to Berlin, basically, right? Now it's at the likes of Lithuania, Latvia, Poland. That's where the Iron Curtain stops. If he wants to extend the Iron Curtain even further to beyond to where it was before, to Berlin, to Germany, as far west as it can go. So yeah, that is the issue we were actually facing here. We've got to stop that spreading at all costs, yeah. And by doing that and uniting, then it can stop that extension of the Iron Curtain.
Also, we've seen that following the invasion of Ukraine, and perhaps after this, do you think there's a threat for Vladimir Putin to invade other countries in that area as well? Because that's been something that's been talked about a lot at the moment, that Ukraine might just be on the very first list of many other countries that Vladimir Putin wants to take over. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, he won't stop at Ukraine. The next one will be Poland.
It'd be the Baltic states for sure. He wants his empire back, USSR, whatever you want to call it. Ukraine's its own independent country. All they want to do is live in peace. And so does the rest of the world.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if you had one message to send to those Ukrainian people watching this, or anybody at all who's not too aware of the situation, what would that message be?
The whole world is standing by your side. We're all with you. Everybody's with you. Putin needs shooting.
Ditto.
Thank you guys for speaking to us. Thanks.